Okay, welcome. This is my video vlog about surviving romantic relationship with person who has a untreated borderline personality disorder. Let me make the distinction. There is treatment for borderline personality disorder, and as I understand it, those who get help can be cured, I guess, and there is recovery. So I am not trying to bag on borderlines. They're human just like I am. I have issues, and if I have a certain medical issue that demands attention, I go to the doctor and I can get a cure for it. You can get a cure for borderline too, but you need to get targeted therapy with a qualified therapist who can help you. Having said that, that is also the key. If you're in a relationship with a borderline, if they're untreated, I'm saying to you, don't waste your time, because I've talked about it in other videos, you're not going to be able to get what you want out of them. They won't be able to give you the love that a non-borderline can give you. And it can be very confusing. In any case, what I want to talk to you about today is that borderline personality disorder is contagious. It is contagious. So in order to understand that, we have to understand that human psychology, that everything is basically projection. So if you don't know what projection is, go on and Google psychological projection. Psychological projection, as I understand it, bear in mind I'm not a psychologist, I'm just somebody who survived borderline, and I've been in therapy most of my life, so I know something about therapy. But anyway, I'm not a psychologist, so if you need help, seek out a psychologist. Psychological projection is when you project onto other people your unresolved unconscious issues. A good example is people in relationships who cheat will oftentimes be extremely paranoid that their partner is cheating on them. And they'll be grabbing your phone and looking at your texts and, who is this? You had a call at 4 o'clock. Who was it that called you? Where were you at 3? And they do that because they are unconsciously guilty about their cheating, and so they project it onto you. That is a case of projection. We all do it. Borderlines, your relationship with a borderline, I mean, there's going to be other things like they're going to be transference. First off, they see you as a parent, not as a partner. So that's a whole other issue. But what will happen is that they will begin to project onto you all of their borderline issues. So what is borderline? So borderline personality disorder is somebody who, because of trauma, neglect, and other abuse that happened when they were like infants and toddlers, because of that, they weren't able to create an identity. The identity is absolutely essential, because without an identity, you can't manufacture your own drive, your own inspiration, and your own ability to tolerate your negative feelings. First and foremost, borderlines cannot tolerate their negative feelings, and they are filled with nothing but negative feelings almost all of the time. And at an unconscious level, it's constant. They're constantly in this state of intense anxiety. The anxiety comes, imagine a 2-year-old who isn't getting their needs met. It's going to create tremendous anxiety, like they're going to die. And the need to have somebody take care of them and love them is so overwhelming. That's what they're living with all the time inside of them. That feels like this huge, horrific black hole that is threatening to consume you. It is so horrifically painful that suicide is an option for a lot of borderlines. And I fully understand and empathize with that. It's not a judgment. So they're not just drama queens. They really are surviving a horrific hole in their gut. It's horrible. Because they are survivors, they have developed highly complex defense mechanisms, and so they will be extremely intelligent. They will be extremely intuitive, because as little babies, they had to be able to intuit what mommy and daddy were thinking and feeling so that they could get what they needed and or avoid getting harmed by their abusers. This has gone into adulthood. That's why they are so intuitive and constantly looking at every little look on your face. You know, the girl that I was with, if she was saying something that I didn't quite understand, and I went like this, she'd go, "Don't look at me like that." They're so sensitive that everything that they can interpret as a rejection or as a criticism is magnified thousands of times. Now, I'm a big, strong, virile man with a lot of testosterone. So if I get excited about something, you'll hear it in my voice. And if I'm in a conversation and somebody has said something that's, that I feel is inaccurate, I may say, "Hey, man, that's not who I am." Now, I'm not yelling or screaming, but just me raising my voice or getting more intense she would cower. She was incapable of even hearing me, because to her it was as if I had a bullhorn and I was screaming at her. Even to the level I'm talking now would be way too intense for her. So understand that anything that they can interpret as a rejection is enormous. So it's amazing that they survive it all, to be honest. It's really quite amazing. And I would say this to her, I would say, "You're one of the most amazing people I've ever met." And I mean it, because I don't know that I could survive what she lives with on a daily basis. So, what was the point of this video again? This video was, oh yeah, that borderline is contagious. So that's where they're coming from. Now, it means that they came from a very insecure, toddlerhood. And so they are going to start to project that onto you, and pretty soon, in fact, almost immediately, even during the adoration phase, you'll start to feel really insecure and you won't know why. And you'll constantly be trying to figure out if they're happy and are you making them happy. And, oh, I need to be in a good mood now to make them happy. And things will start to get very shaky. And you'll start to feel insecure. I'm a very secure guy, when it comes to relationships. I've got my issues, but a lot of times I'm that guy that's like, you know what, if you don't want to be with me, don't waste my time. I ask a girl out once, and if she says anything other than, "Yes, I can't wait," I'm not interested. So for me to be in this relationship with this woman and to be constantly wondering, am I doing the right thing? Does she like me? Is she going to give me that kiss? Is she going to touch me? That's unusual for me. But that's because I was in the beginning stages of catching her disease, because they're projecting it onto you. That's how they feel about themselves. Now, when the rejections and the attacks come, which will happen at some point in time, in the early part of the idealization phase, they have the ability in the beginning to tolerate some of the triggers because they're really focused on you being the one that's going to fix them. But they really don't have the ability that an adult has. When they're triggered, they go, "Yeah, it's just a feeling and I'm going to be fine, and it's okay that that person isn't in a good mood, and we get past it. Yeah, things will be fine. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I still love you." Or, "Yeah, oh, they just farted. Oh, well, yeah, it smells bad, but, I still love it." That's a very human thing, for somebody who's non-borderline, because you have an identity. You can, whenever things are difficult, when you have challenging feelings, you're with somebody who has challenging feelings, maybe they're not happy with you at the moment, you don't like it, but you can dig deep into your identity and it holds you like an anchor. And then things change and you're able to move on. They don't have this anchor. They have nothing within them to hold them through any negative feeling. So the time will come when you will trigger them and they will feel attacked. They will feel, it won't feel just like a little attack. It'll feel like you have destroyed their essence. It will feel as though you have attacked them on the deepest possible level, and they will feel so insecure. There may be just one look, literally just a look that came across your face, that will be enough for them to decide that they can't be with you because you don't love them. Don't look at me like that. Okay? Now, if they're in therapy, they understand that these feelings are way overblown, and so they learn ways to deal with it. But if they're not, in therapy, they don't have any protection from this. They can't tolerate it. And so the only place they have to take it out on is you. So because they feel so insecure and so devalued and so worthless, what they're going to do is they're going to make you feel that way. Sometimes outright telling you that. In the case of the girl I was with, she had a lot of really sophisticated defense mechanisms, and she had learned how to, not attack people directly most of the time, but she would still characterize me as being this really heartless, mean person who is out to devalue her and destroy her. When in reality, she's been doing that to me the whole time I was with her, devaluing and destroying my sense of self and making me not sure at any given time. I even heard her say something about her having to walk on eggshells with me, and I'm trying to figure out when was that? When was that? I don't remember ever being anything other than trying to figure out how to make you happy. Which again, I had caught her disease, because that's what they're doing. They're doing the same thing. They're trying to make you happy so that they can feel good. Okay? So if you've been with them and the anxiety starts to get worse, you're obsessing over them, you're wanting to text them all the time, you wait around all day to see if they're going to text you, are they going to call you, are they going to break up with you? That was going on with me. It was like every day was, is she going to break up with me today? And if every time the phone would ring, I would go into shock because I didn't know what I was going to receive. And either one, I was afraid of both, literally. If it was, hi, I love you, I was just thinking about you, that would cause a shock within me. Because the more she loves me, it means the closer I'm going to get, which means the more hurt I'm going to get when she eventually lashes out and rejects me again. And if it was a rejection, it'd be, oh God, here it is, another rejection. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do wrong? What did I not do? If I'd only done this, she would have loved me. What did I do? It was just traumatic either way. If you're experiencing that, it's because you have now caught the disease. And that's when I realized, there was a point when I realized that once this was after I had identified what was going on with her, and then trying to stay in the relationship, thinking that that knowledge would protect me. It didn't. So then again, I was getting high functioning defense mechanisms intellectually, but emotionally I was still which is again, their reality all the time. They have this very high, high degree of intellectual, very complex defense mechanisms that make them extremely smart and seem really high functioning. When in reality, on an emotional level, they're a basket case and they can't function at all. And they're really dependent upon you to give them the strength to do anything. It got to the point where we went out to eat, and she wanted me to order her food for her. I didn't know she was borderline at the time. If I had known, I would have just ordered her food for her, just to make her feel better. But I was thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not your king. I'm not going to order your food for you. Please feel free to get whatever you want. I thought I was being nice. It made her freak out. And it's because she was uncomfortable and she couldn't tolerate the thought of even choosing. She didn't have a sense of self to decide what she wanted to eat. This is who you're with. Okay? So, get out now if they're not in treatment. Here's the thing. The kindest thing you can say to an untreated borderline is, I love you very much. This relationship, the dynamic of this relationship is unhealthy for me. If you seek out therapy with a psychologist for for your borderline issues, please give me a call, because I would love to be with you. Now, of course, they're going to hate hearing that. They're going to think that you are criticizing them, calling them crazy, and attacking them. You can't help that. But that is actually the kindest thing you can say, because the only way that any kind of connection with them will survive is if they get help and learn how to be, a functional, cooperative person and be able to make decisions and commitments and follow through with them. And that's only going to happen if they get therapy. Okay? All right, so Borderline personality disorder is contagious unless you get out. If you get out and get help yourself, you might get back to your strong self again. This is why I'm making these videos, because the only time when I was with her that I started to get my sense of self back was when I was out of the country and I didn't have any way of communicating. And during those 2 weeks of not communicating, I started to get my self-esteem back. I started to get my sense of self back. I started to have my desires back and started feeling good and hopeful for the future. And that's when I realized, holy crap, I've contracted her disease. I've got her insecurity in me. She's implanted it in me. And again, that's the projection. They will project onto you their own experience, which means there's no way you can be with them and connect to them on a personal level without it getting on you and without it affecting you. Okay? All right, so borderline personality disorder is contagious. Watch out.